Okay, so in this clip, I'm going to quickly show you how to set up an object target in your Vuforia applications. So when I say object targets, I mean multi-targets as well as cylinder targets. Now, in your work, previous work with the AR module as well as your assignment work, you most likely just use the flat image targets that I've showcased in the tutorials to actually anchor your virtual content into your real world environments. And that is perfectly okay. But sometimes, depending on the application design that you're running with, you might have a use case where it's more appropriate to have, like 3D sort of shapes that will actually act as anchors for your visual content within your environment. And that is where object targets come in. So object targets are basically 3D shaped image targets instead of the flat 2D images. Now, in the case of Vuforia, for our main purposes, I'm going to showcase the two types of object targets that are simple to set up. So that's the multi-target again, and the cylinder target. Now, the multi-target is basically, multiple flat images joined together to form this sort of box shape, so like a cube or cuboid shape. If you actually have a look at the hierarchy window on the multi-target object when I have it expanded, as you can see, it just consists of these flat image targets arranged in the shape of the box, and you can assign or rather link, whatever game objects you want based on the kind of effect and kind of interactions you're actually running with. So for demonstrations purposes, I just went ahead and actually, put these texts to indicate which side is which for this box target. So that's a multi-target. Cylinder targets are, pretty straightforward. They're just cylinder-shaped image targets. This one only really consists of the one cylinder target object. And just like with the previous example, you can, link as many game objects as you want. For the cylinder target, I've just gone ahead and added these random cubes to the side to showcase the occlusion feature for these object targets. Now, just to quickly show you how this will look, when you have the application running. So I've actually gone ahead and got this physical box that I plastered the image targets on top of for each side. So if we actually get this camera to detect the box target, as you can see, actually does a pretty good job of tracking the game object, the text that I linked to each of the image targets. And actually, even though we're mainly tracking the front side of the box, it still manages to display the text on the other side of the box target, mainly because it's using the position of the front image target as a way to actually figure out or calculate where it should place the objects on the other side. So this is sort of like an anchor within of itself for the other objects that you have within your multi-target. So if we actually change the orientation of the box, you'll see that it's actually doing a pretty good job of, tracking everything. And you'll notice as well as the text on the back side is actually getting hidden. So that's the occlusion feature that I was talking about earlier. So occlusion basically means, like hiding part of the object that shouldn't actually be visible because there is another, object blocking the view. So in this case, it's the box itself. So if I actually change the angle again, you'll notice that the text becomes a lot more visible. This one right here. And if I change the rotation again, it does get hidden. And again, it's just using the physical dimensions of the box that I provided in order to actually calculate the occlusion for those objects. And you can also see the same thing as well with the cylinder target. So let me just reactivate that. I have to deactivate it because it's using the same image targets. You want to avoid doing that. This is mainly just for demonstration purposes. Oh, and it crashed. Okay. We're just going to have to quickly jump that back in. Now, while I'm waiting for this to load, one thing that you do need to prepare if you do want to use these object targets is you need to have like the physical dimensions or the physical size rather of your actual image targets, because you need to put them in order to set up these target objects within your target manager web page. Okay. Yep. So this one is the cylinder target, and as you can see there, fairly simple enough. Tracking isn't as good because the image that I'm using isn't really ideal. I think I'm only getting like 3 stars out of 5 for trackability for this. And image quality as well as tracking quality is all really, really important with these object targets. So you want to make sure that that is correct. But again, this is just mainly for demonstration purposes. So yeah, as you can see, the occlusion is pretty wonky there as well on the back cube, because the Vuforia is having a struggle at estimating the actual sort of rotation, orientation, and position of the cylinder. Okay, so if you actually want to set these up in your project, then you need to head over to your target manager window and head over to the device database that you want to add this target to. And then just go ahead and click on the add target. And then in the target prompt window, either you select the cuboid option for the multi-target option or the cylinder for the cylinder target option. Again, you need the dimensions so that you can actually get started with adding the image targets to each side of the shape. So with cuboid, you're going to have to provide the width, the height, and the length of the box. Length, in this case, is referring to depth of the box object itself. And for cylinder, you're going to have to provide the bottom and top diameter. So the diameter for the top and bottom sides can be different. So instead of having a cylinder, you can have a cone-shaped object target. And then you have side length. So side length, it refers to the height of the actual cylinder. And based on that height, it's going to calculate the ideal length of the image that's actually going to be pasted to the side. So I'm just going to go with like the dimensions of the box that I showcased earlier. So I know that that box was like 9.8 centimeters by 18.1 centimeters by 4.52 centimeters. The units are pretty arbitrary with these dimension requirements. So I'm using centimeters here as my unit, but you can use meters, you can use millimeters. It doesn't really matter. What this will affect is basically how big or small your game object target is in your scene window. Ideally, you still want it to match the numbers, but like in terms of like the scaling, centimeters or meters, it's really up to you. So again, that's just arbitrary. So just provide it with the name and then go ahead and click add. Now, the main difference here compared to like a typical, image target is that you're going to have to provide an image for each sides of the object target that you're setting up. Well, I mean, you don't have to add an image to everything. So like say, for example, with this one, you can just add an image at the front and then call it a day. But ideally, you want to fill as many sides as possible so that you have all of the angles covered for your object. So if you only have an image on the front, then that means you can only track the multi-target when the camera is looking at the front side. Again, same rules apply here. Make sure that you're using a good quality image, and also the image itself should have a really good augmentable rating or trackability rating. This one is set to 4 stars, so that should be okay. And basically, just repeat the process for the left, right, top, bottom, and back sides until you've filled everything. Now, I'm just going to skip those parts because those are pretty straightforward. You just need to follow the same steps over and over again. And it's the same thing as well with the cylinder. If I just go ahead and create a cylinder target, I'm just going to put random, put random numbers in the size dimensions. Well, this one, 14. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Sorry, I mixed that up. So that should be 7, 7, 11. Yep, there we go. And now with the cylinder, again, you just need to add an image for the side, the top, and the bottom. Again, it's really helpful if you have like something physical like a physical object that you can use to just stick your image targets in, because then you can actually get these exact measurements, because you won't be able to just randomly put in images. You need to make sure that the exact size of your image that you're going to put in the object targets also match the dimensions based on the numbers that you've given it. Hence why you're getting those errors. So if I just upload like a random, like a random image here, if it doesn't match, you're not going to get you're going to get an error, and then it's actually going to tell you the appropriate width to height ratio for the image. So if I've actually prepared an image for this already. Okay, no, it doesn't work. But yeah, just a heads up on that. Now, when it comes time to actually start importing your, your image database into your project. So again, that's just downloading the database and then, importing that via the Unity editor through the import package option. If you actually want to create these objects within your Unity scene, it's just a matter of going to the game object create menu. So right click on the hierarchy window or go to the game object menu. And then in the menu that pops up, just go ahead and click Vuforia engine. And then either you select multi-image for the box image targets, or you use cylindrical image for the cylinder targets. So, yep. Again, you do need to import a, like a database that does contain multi-targets or cylinder targets. Otherwise, you're going to get this prompt. But yeah, that's just to showcase that. Cool. All right. One last thing as well. You'll know, just a heads up that if you're using an object target, you won't be able to make use of the virtual button feature from the flat image targets because they're not supported for object targets. In fact, if you click on the multi-target or the cylinder target, if you head over to the inspector and check multi-target behavior, you'll see that if we expand advanced, we don't actually get an option to add a virtual button in it. So they're not supported for object targets. They're only supported for the flat plain image targets. So just a heads up on that. Okay, that is it for this clip. Hopefully that helps out. And yeah, see you later.